Rock.
You guys won your first of 3 AWA Tag Team Championships in August of 1978. What was it like to win your first gold? How did you feel about that?
Oh, fuck, man. We took those belts to the strip club, and we tried to pay the strippers with the belts, but they weren't going for it. So then we had to ask Dick, the Bruiser, for $5 so that this woman could come sit on my lap.
I asked him for $5 and he pulled a fucking knife on me. I don't know where he got that from. But I can't tell you this much. You know, goddamn fucking Dick Bruiser. He had a thing for knives, I heard. The thing about it is...
His name was Dick fucking Bruiser, man.
But the thing about it is, you know, the first time winning those titles, man, it's just like having your first baby. You're like, oh, it's the best, man.
It's like holding up your child in the air.
You don't carry them fucking titles the way they want them. They want you to. If you just don't do exactly what you do, because you're a champion, you're the face of the company.
We were 2 champions.
We were 2 champions, and you know, we weren't living the way they wanted to. We weren't living the way, the image that they put us up to be. They wanted us to take the mask off. Fuck no.
No.
I ain't taking my mask off for nobody.
I get sunburned, man.
And
I get sunburned to take my mask off. They ain't gonna have.
And that was probably the reason why you had to put over the high flyers, you know, Greg Gagne, in that to lose your tag team titles. It almost seemed like every single time you lost your title belts, it was some combination of Greg Gagne
well, sure.
in there.
Whether he was in somebody's corner or whether we were wrestling him himself, you know, he had everything to do because he was in his father's ear. He said, hey, look at these fucking guys. He says, they're not what the business needs. We can't even see their face. The ladies don't even know what they look like. I had the body. Hey, he had the fist. But still,
the ladies know
they didn't know. Like, they didn't know what we looked like. So he said, yo, we suggest you take off the mask.
We said no.
We said, fuck you, man. No way. This is our livelihood. This is where we come from. And you know who ripped the page out of his book? Because he didn't think it was marketable? Eric Bischoff. He made Ray take off his mask, Hoovy take off his mask, Juventud take off his mask, because he said it wasn't marketable.
The only ones that never took off their masks were the Bianos.
And that's definitely a subject we'll get into here when we talk about eventually when you got to WCW.
Right.
You know, what are your thoughts, guys like the Midnight Rockers, the Rockers when they went to the WWF, Rock and Roll Express, etc. You know, tag teams like that. What are your thoughts about tag teams that, you know, are said that they stole your high flying type style, lots of high spots, high flying type moves set? How do you feel when people?
Well, this is what I feel. I know that we innovated it. I know that we started it and we're the foundation of it. Now, did they use our blood? Did they use our sweat? Did they use our tears? Did they even use our moves to get themselves or propel themselves to where they needed to go? Yes, they did. But I can't hate them for that. Because we started the style. We were the originals. The only thing that I get mad about is we don't get the recognition that we deserve for starting that trend. These happy pussy flying, you know, Pinocha fucking bleached hair, you know, dark beard, you know, shave their fucking chest like a fucking heart.
A real man never shaves his chest, man. My chest is as thick as the forest. That's right. And a real man never shaves his chest. And that's another reason
to me,
we're doing it.
Shaving your chest is about as useless as a pecker on a pole. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I could tell you about that.
Our tits on the bull.
What caused you guys to finally say forget it with the AWA? What was the last straw, so to speak, that caused you guys to finally say, we're done?
Well, pinche.
This is what he did. Vern pitched it. He wanted me to turn on him and take my mask off. They wanted me to sell him out, much like Shawn Michaels did to Marty Jannetty. They threw him through the window and, you know, and Beefcake's barbershop, whatever the fuck Vince was doing at that time. They wanted me to do the exact same to him, and I said, fuck that shit.
No.
You know what he did? He took the fucking titles. He took them to a fucking trash compactor, turned that shit on,
and then
we came back, dropped the titles in the trash and said, fuck you, man.
And then that pinche Vern called freaking Migros on us. Remember? And if it wasn't been for me coming home, we'd never get out of there. We would be be sent back. Well, I mean, we would have had to travel back home.
Where and when did Vince McMahon approach you for a job in the World Wrestling Federation?
It wasn't necessarily Vince who approached us. It was his, once again, whoever his people are. At that time, he had a couple of people working for him, scouting agencies, as he was picking everybody up out of all the different territories, bringing the best to him, because he knew if he surrounded himself by stars, it would propel him to where he is now. He found us. He heard of the problems that we were having with Byrne. And I know that Byrne tried to blackball us to Vince. At this time, I think Vince, was it Vince who bought the, Vince might have bought the company from him at that time. Or Ted Turner, I forget who was pitching for the company at that time, but he called Vince, said, hey, you guys are what we want. We're going to bring you in. We're going to make you big stars. We're going to give you everything you want. You can have all this money. We said, money signs over our head, chicas, you know, burritos, cervezas, you name it. Just like everything, your wildest dreams are like, we finally make it to the big time, you know, we finally make it.
What are your thoughts then about Vince McMahon's expansion during the 80s in that unheard of the time system of he was raiding territories, kind of muscling up on local TV companies to play his stuff, things like that. What were your thoughts about that?
Well, I admire him for his drive, but I don't admire him for his ethics. That's all I can say about that. He's a piece of fucking shit.
That guy is.
I was there the day he promised his father, on his father's deathbed, his father, you know, was one of the last promotions, we were hanging out, whatever, we were watching to see how things are going, and he tells us, his dad said, Vince, you promised me you will never get in that ring. You will never get in that ring to put yourself over. That motherfucker has broke that promise of not one but 1,000 times.
His fucking dad's rolling over in the grave, man. His dad's fucking rolling over.
So what were your first thoughts above the B schedule for that grueling WWF travel schedule at the time? You did the C one where you guys were going all over the place, and the highest you got was maybe mid-B level. You know, they gave you the tag team titles for one night, but they've scrapped that out of the history books forever. I mean, that's not on there, even though you guys clearly did technically win them in a house show in Albany, New York.
Yeah, you know, it's typical of Vince, you know, it's typical. People who kiss his ass or take it up the ass from him, get a, you know, a reward at these goddamn fucking, you know, Hall of Fame ceremonies. This motherfucker's gonna run out of people in 2 years to start inducting with as many goddamn people he's inducting.
When you screw over 2 people that won your title belts in Albany, New York, I say, fuck you. You will not be at that Hall of Fame ceremony. Because,
that's what Vince does to me, man.
Makes me sick.
It's just these things, these Hall of Fame ceremonies make me sick. He's got so much talent out there that he's exploited, but he's bringing people in. He's going to induct his son-in-law, I heard, in 2 years already.
What was it like to wrestle teams like the Killer Bees? You already, you know, faced Jim Brunzell earlier, but when he came in the WWF, the Killer Bees, the Hearts, British Bulldogs, that was a lot of good talent. How was it?
You know, British Bulldogs, Killer Bees, those guys were cohesive units like me, man, Mono here. They were cohesive units that they did their time, man. They paid their dues up and down the territories. They were cohesive, they wore the same outfits, they did everything that they needed to do. And we gelled with those guys because we were just as cohesive, and they were true professionals.
That's right.
Well, even though you weren't in any WrestleMania technically from the Hulkamania era, what was it like to go to WrestleMania weekend on those Sundays? You know, how was the atmosphere, especially like, you know, WrestleMania 3? I know you guys didn't have a match there, but you were there that weekend. How was it? How was the atmosphere?
I was still wondering what's up with his chest.
It's like a kick in the taint. It's a kick in the taint, if you know what I mean. It's just like somebody lifted up my balls and kicked me right between my balls and my asshole because
The gooch.
you know, the thing about it was, man, it was just like, we should have been there. It should have been our show. But instead, we had to book the match. We had to set up the spots for these guys to put these fucking pinche vatos over like